Hello, this is Let Me Know How It Is, a podcast about all things geek. Today we ask the question, is there such thing as too much Batman? If you're a new listener, welcome. Thanks for being here. We release new episodes every Wednesday. Please don't forget to subscribe and leave us a topic suggestion in the comments section. Thanks for listening. Hey everybody, I'm Zach Slater. I'm here with...
I'm Frank Melman.
This is Tommy Smithereens.
And I'm Clifton.
What's this? Has there been an overabundance of bat stories? Is the market oversaturated with batarangs and Batmobiles? Does DC have an overdependence on Batman? Have we reached the limit? Can this be? Stay tuned to find out. Same bat time, same bat channel. There we go. Hamming it up, everybody.
Very nice.
Wow.
Well done.
So that's what we're chatting about today. Is there such thing as too much Batman? Have we reached bat fatigue? So, you weren't ready for this, but Tommy, I'm going to start with you because I know you have some thoughts on this. So go ahead, break my heart.
Well, I gotta break the heart.
He's bracing for it. He's ready.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I'm not. I wasn't trying to break hearts.
I'm leaving this episode in tears. I'm sure of it.
Oh no, not at all. I mean, stuff is oversaturated. But really, the thing I wanted to say, I'm handing it over to Frank for a chance because I could have pulled it out of his mouth for this because I know he's itching to tell this recent update or news concerning Bat Media or Bat Animation. So, Frank,
It was just announced a few days ago that the latest Warner Brothers animation cartoon for HBO Max is a series called Bat Wheels.
Yeah. Okay.
no lie, yeah.
Which is the new DC preschool animated series where you basically follow the Batmobile and like Batgirl's Bat Cycle.
Right.
And
they have
Yeah.
eyes like cars.
yeah, they're
Yes.
just like
Pixar
cars.
cars.
Yeah, cars
Yes.
with bat cars.
Interesting.
Starts all the fan demand for Kevin Conroy better be doing the voice of the Batmobile.
Of course, absolutely. Yes, so I would say yes, we have reached full baturation at this point. That we are totally
Yes.
overly saturated with Batman stuff.
Okay.
I would that my early vote. I mean, I have other examples, but that's my early vote on. I'd say yes.
Okay,
Yes, we
just
have.
because we're getting cars, or were you thinking about this before?
No. There's other reasons too. I mean,
Okay.
This is one that doesn't really. You guys don't really care so much. I would say Clifton and Zach don't really care that much about it, but Tommy and I do. And we were talking recently with all the stuff that's been going on. DC shuttered DC Direct, which was a lot of their product division, and they made figures and posters and all that stuff that's not comics.
Right.
And they, for a long time, they would do a series of figures that you would only get stuff that was made by DC Direct. You get it through comic shops. And then there was stuff like Mattel had a license at one point, and now Todd McFarlane's McFarlane Toys has a license for DC stuff. Well, he's released, I think, 45 figures, and 31 of them are Batman or Batman related at this point. It's
Right.
probably, I did the math, it's about 70, it's almost 70% Batman. And it's it's not a Batman line. That's the other point. It's a DC multiverse line.
Yeah, they call it the DC multiverse line, but
They have the straight face on talking about it's a DC multiverse line, and it's not even remotely representative of the DC universe at all.
Yeah, okay. I don't disagree with you. I think you're crazy if you don't think that Batman, if you don't realize that Batman is like the most popular character in DC, and they push that button a lot. They go to that well an awful lot.
So then, but at the same time, then call it a Batman line. Like, don't tell
I
me.
agree.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me you're doing a multiverse line. That's a bunch of crap because it's not the multiverse. The
Right.
multiverse in my mind is, if you want to get technical, it's the Forever People, it's the Metal Men, it's the Legion of Superheroes, it's Kingdom Come, it's take your pick. It's not just the corner of Batman, and then in this case, they're doing a lot of Batman Who Laughs and the various. They're all variations on Batman.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Which is fine. It's just one of those things where there should be some balance. And granted, they're saying, as a driver, I understand that Batman is a driver. I get it.
Mhm.
That's what's going to get people in because people love Batman. I love Batman. I've been a fan of Batman since I was, starting out to read. Batman and Spider-Man are two of my oldest and favorites, most favorite characters I've ever had. It's just, it's one of those things where I just feel like every time I turn around, there's something that's going on with Batman where I'm like, okay, we could allow something else to grow and therefore have a bigger audience for something besides just the Batman stuff.
Right. That's the trade-off that is sort of the silent aspect of the topic over here, is that, like, or have we reached bat fatigue at a cost of something else that could possibly get some focus that doesn't, because Batman has 17 titles every month, and and we go 2 years, 3 years every time that there's like an animated show,
right?
And something like that. So my question is, though, so what do we think? Like, let's assume, though, right now that we suddenly took all the Batman merchandise and all the Batman exposure and we halved it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What in DC is suddenly going to get the focus then, if it's not so much Batman? Like, what rises to the top, do we think?
Well, based upon, to me, it's ironic that it's bat fatigue, because a lot of what's rising to the top is the popularity of what's most popular in DC, and it's unfortunately Batman stuff. I'm not a proponent of the dark death metal DC universe at this point, but a lot of what's driving it is evil Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And it's strange to me, because we're getting a glut of this, but we don't get a glut of him in TV, which is oddly enough, or even cartoons at this point, because this is the first time I haven't seen the cartoon that's current from Batman.
Right, but we have Harley, though.
Yeah, that's one that's going to rise to the top, is definitely Harley.
Right.
And
yeah, I mean, okay. So that's an interesting question, though. So is that a distinction? Is Harley Quinn a distinction from Batman stuff, or is she still like
no, she's
connected to Batman stuff?
No, not unless if you've seen it, full well she's not. So I don't want to ruin anything, but yeah, no, it's still Gotham City, it's still Batman. So
right, that's what I think. I think that Harley Quinn is still always going to be related to Batman in some way.
Yeah,
right. There's ties to Joker, ties to Poison Ivy,
ties
all
to
that other stuff. But
yeah.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying, that there's not a Batman focused show at the moment.
Yeah,
no.
I think it's almost certain that there's probably one getting worked on right now that we don't know about.
I mean, we have Batwoman,
right?
And he appears in Young Justice.
Yes, he does.
And he's supposed to appear. Is he appeared in Teen Titans yet, or Titans yet, or not?
Yes,
he has appeared in Titans.
Okay. Yes.
Not in costume,
right?
But in Bruce Wayne form,
in grayscale or whatever it is.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, again, we don't have him. We don't have him per se in TV, but we do have him per se in TV.
Right.
Yeah. At least his menacing aura, I guess.
Yes. He looms.
I think. I mean, I can certainly understand where there's more Batman out there than I can consume, even.
Sure.
Right. Like I'm not reading any of the death metal stuff. I'm not reading Three Jokers. At least not currently. I'm sure at some point I'll get around to that stuff and everything. But like there is a lot out there that even I can't get to. And I love Batman. I absolutely love Batman. But I mean, to me, he is out there for a reason, right? I think there's a couple of factors that I think that work into this favor. One is that he's a super flexible character.
Okay.
Right. And I think that it allows just the idea that death metal and the Batman Who Laughs, right, kind of shows the flexibility that we can kind of do this absurd version of it. Right. And there's an appetite for that. And we can have, the thing that we talk about a lot is like within the same year, we get the Dark Knight movie and Batman the Brave and the Bold cartoon.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's one.
We forgot Pennyworth too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised.
Pennyworth.
I'd be surprised they throw him in there.
Well, his parents are in there.
Oh, okay.
I think too is that the property appears to attract, an immense number of talented creators, right? Like everybody seems to have a take on the character, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like when right. It's not like Animal Man, where like nobody's really doing anything with it, and it takes Grant Morrison to jump on who sees a potential there that nobody else does and plays with it. Like everybody sees the potential of Batman. Thus, everybody has a Batman story. So everybody has like a passionate thing that they want to bring to the table, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and like I said, like I think like, and it tends to do well. Like the story I tell a lot is I have some friends that are strict Marvel fans, and they like Batman. Like you know, like everybody likes Batman. So I'm not saying that there isn't such thing as bat fatigue in this moment, but what I'm saying, I guess, is I understand, I get it.
Well, I feel the character's going through a renaissance. A lot of what I've heard when Frank was talking about the 70s when he had Space Batman and was it what was the multicolored one called?
Rainbow.
Zur-Narg.
Zur-Nar?
Yeah.
Oh, Zur-Nar, okay.
Yeah, but now we're getting like that on steroids, in which we have Batman in various incarnations, in which, like what Zach was saying, we have Snyder creating the Meta universe. We also have the Black Label creating every aspect of it. I mean, never has the character been more celebrated in comics now than ever before. Before we used to get only one creator, one writer, one voice at a time before the next incarnation came. You know, first was Frank Miller, then Alan Moore, and then you just got one at a time. While Detective Comics and Batman were only 2 publications, right?
Right.
But now
you brought up Black Label too. That's an interesting one. That's like what Frank was talking about with the McFarlane Toys thing. Like,
yeah,
Black Label's supposed to be a DC wide thing, and like, is there a book yet that hasn't been a Batman centric book?
Yeah, we have
the Question. There's one.
Is it the Question? Okay, so we got the Question, and I think Adam Strange is Adam Strange in Black Label at this point. I can't remember, but
no. But we do have Wonder Woman. What's the Wonder Woman one? There's a Wonder Woman one where it's apocalyptic Wonder Woman. Right. That one's also from Black Label as well.
But we also got Batman White Knight was in Black Label. We got the sequel to White Knight. We got the Harley Quinn spinoff was in Black Label. There was 2 Harley Quinn miniseries going on at the same time that were Black Label books. I think there was a Joker book. There was a Black Label book, right? Like, yeah. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, greatly so.
It's an awful lot. And so, on my thing, it's like I'm okay with it. I like that they're like as a love of this property, as a lover of this property, I like that there's so much out there. But what I wish was that there were other characters that got focused on too, because DC's got a lot of great stuff. And to me, I think DC has a lot of best kept secrets that really still nobody knows much about yet. And there's a lot of characters that I think could catch on if just given the focus and actually just given, like, in some cases, the right creator, you know?
Mm-hmm.
After the Deadpool movie came out, like, for the life of me, I don't know why a Lobo movie didn't get greenlit right away.
Sure. Absolutely.
Right? Like, that's another one that I think, you know, people are just, you know, if you did like a Guardians of the Galaxy type vibe mixed in with, you know, the sort of like raunchy humor that Deadpool had, I think people would eat it up. I think they would love it.
Sure.
But I think in their mind, they saw Deadpool and thought, oh, like, we've got Harley, let's just use her. And then that was their reaction. They filled that spot with Harley.
Right.
It's everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and that's something I hear a lot too, where like Harley is DC's Deadpool, which I don't see. I don't see it at all.
It doesn't.
Right?
I think it's what they think.
Right.
It doesn't translate. No,
it doesn't to me. It's Lobo to me. It's always been Lobo.
Sure.
Yeah, but let it find its audience. I mean, like what you were saying earlier, Zach, you were saying that even the Marvel fans were gravitating to Batman. So how do you not create a stories for an overly popular character just because there's a lot of sources of the character? I mean, it's I understand what the whole thing of having too much of them out there, but at the same token, people haven't stopped buying it, and to pivot to something that they don't know if people are going to buy is kind of doesn't make good business, unfortunately. But going back to the listing of the Black Label stuff, looking at the list of what's currently out, what they put out, Stranger Avengers was on the Black Label title. I was mistaken. They had Hellblazer, Rising Fall. That just started early. American Vampire 1976. That came out. I'm not sure what the last God is, but other than that, there was The Question, The Deaths of Vic Sage, The one I was talking about earlier was Wonder Woman Dead Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the one I was talking about. But you're right with the number of and Superman Year One by Frank Miller, Frank Miller
I
and
forgot all about
Romita.
that book.
Yeah. Well, how could you remember with
Okay.
all the Batman titles?
There is more Black Label stuff out there than I remember.
Yes.
I mean, that's for sure. But
yeah, you're 100% correct on how many other ones. But the Batman ones is Last Night on Earth, Curse of the White Knight, Harleen, Joker Killer Smile, White Knight presents Von Freeze, Dark Knight Returns the Golden Child, Birds of Prey, Batman the Smile Killer, Joker / Harley Criminal Sanity Secret Files. And that's just what they recently did. They're currently on Batman the Three Jokers,
right.
Harley Quinn Birds of Prey, another volume of it. And then even talking about how they're going to do a Batman / Wonder Woman book in December.
Yeah.
So I understand.
This is and this is in addition to all the regular Batman titles, Batman Detective, Batman and Catwoman book that's supposed to be starting soon, right? The Batman animated series follow up that's like the digital first book.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And a ton of other stuff. So yeah, I mean, so there is a lot of stuff out there, but I'm still trying to figure out so what would DC be if Batman was suddenly toned down? Right? I mean, do we think Superman gets the focus then? Do we think Wonder Woman gets the focus?
Well, I mean, I think it's one of those things where, if you don't, to me, it's kind of like if you don't let anything, Batman's the concrete over the whatever you could possibly have grow at DC, it's hard to say unless you pull some of that aside and let something else grow. There's no reason why you can't put a top-notch creator on another book or another character. It happens all the time. But
it does.
But my thing is, without saying, hey, we're going to commit to the idea of pushing something else for a year or try to put somebody better on another book or another character for a year, I just don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where, I understand the reasons why it's done. I'm just saying, it's like you said earlier, it's tough to consume everything that comes in. I mean, if we go back and look at the DC animated straight to video or Blu-ray stuff, it's the same number. It's about 70% of it is Batman. He's either of a story about him or he's in it.
Yeah.
It's the same number.
Yeah,
and again, I love a lot of that stuff. I'm not saying I would never ever say that I don't, but at the same time, we've been at this now since when did we first start doing the animated stuff? Straight direct to video.
2007.
Right. So we're just now getting a JSA movie.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been around since the 30s and 40s, and we're just now getting a Justice Society story.
Right.
We have one Legion cartoon in all of DC's animated properties.
I remember being young and this is back when Wizard was still a thing, and I would they would do top 10 stories, Batman stories, top 10 Superman stories, and I remember reading the top 10 Superman stories, the list of it, and looking at it, and I was like, I think 7 of the top 10 stories all had Batman as a guest star.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It was For the Man Who Has Everything, Batman's in it.
Right.
Right. It was what's the John Byrne one that I'm blanking on?
Man of Steel.
He is in Man of Steel also for an issue, but
you mean the annual, the Action Comics annual with Skeeter?
Yeah, I'm talking about the annual. Yeah,
with the vampire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Batman's in that one. So it's like there's so many of these things, and it just made me go okay, there's just something about the character that I think pulls people over.
Maybe, but it's also one of those things of depending on who did that list and when they read comics. I mean, there's plenty of Superman stories you could do that don't have Batman in them.
Yeah.
I could name a couple that don't have Batman in them that are pretty good Superman stories that don't need it. I mean, I think, not to take a dump on Wizard, but it's just one of the
okay.
any more than they would dump on themselves. It's just one of those things where, those lists were compiled by people that read books at the time and maybe 5 years before, so I get it, but I mean, the other thing is you can't tell. Here's the other thing. I know you love Superman too, right?
I do.
So you can't tell me that you have to have Batman and a Superman story to make a good Superman story.
I don't. Yeah,
right.
And I just remember as a kid seeing that list and being bothered by it. Right. As much as I love those stories that are in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I feel like Batman, like this is the top 10 Superman stories. I feel like Batman shouldn't be in this much.
Right.
Right. You know
Yeah,
what
sure.
I mean? We're like, the best Superman story has Batman in it, but these stories don't even check off on Batman's list anywhere.
Right.
That's funny.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
it's just, I mean, so that's my feelings. I do think, I'll give you a perfect example of what I'm going to talk about now, but it's like, I do feel like his success being so immense and kind of overshadowing in some ways, like all of DC,
Mhm.
does kind of have an effect that I think hurts. So when you do actually get something where they are trying to flex some new muscles and try and showcase something else, like Arrow, it's still
Mhm.
Batman. Arrow,
Sure.
like, you know
Sure.
what I mean?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
And the amount of aspects from Batman that they pulled
Right.
and incorporated into Arrow, which I'm going to argue with myself on this though, but that pulled me in places though. Like when they were announcing like Ra's al Ghul is going to be in it, and he's fighting Arrow with no shirt on, right? He's sword fighting Arrow, and they're both not wearing shirts like in the Batman story.
Sure, and it's call
Like
out to
I watched that episode.
Yeah.
It got
But
me.
it was in the snow and not the desert.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, it's a call out to the Neil Adams issue, the Denny O'Neil Neil Adams issue, where they fight with scimitars in the desert, which is
Right.
awesome. Again, love Batman. It's just, you're right. I totally agree with you. They pull a lot of stuff from Deadshot's in Green Arrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of characters that show up that are
Yeah.
adjacent, and they basically
Ra's was never really a Green Arrow bad guy,
no, not really.
No.
right?
Not
I mean,
at all.
the only argument that could have been made was that Merlin was a part of the League of Assassins at one
Yes,
point.
that's the only one. You're right.
That's the only through line really for it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, I mean, and that's sad for me because Green Arrow was one of the characters that I would pull out. It would be like, I would like to see more with him because he's he is like Batman in the sense that he's a reversal, right? That like the example I always did was if Batman's James Bond and he's super polished, right? And gets everything right and is suave and all this other stuff, Green Arrow's Indiana Jones.
Mm-hmm.
He'll get through. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be by the skin of his teeth. He's going to be emotional. He's going to scream. He's going to be afraid, right? He's going to mess stuff up. And I think that's interesting.
Right. But the other thing about it is, I mean, I know you only watch bits and pieces of Arrow. I watched all of it. And to me, it's one of those things where they wanted so badly to make a Batman show that they made Oliver Queen much more Batman-like, or than he actually was Green Arrow, I would say.
Right.
You know, just in his demeanor and stuff, and the fact that he was supposed to be a super hard ass, and Ollie's really not that guy. I mean, if you go back and look at,
he wasn't the liberal like hanging out with Green Lantern in the 70s.
right? No,
Yeah.
not ever. No, wasn't making chili, none of that stuff.
Right.
But didn't they change the course of the show halfway through to readjust it to a stronger Ollie character as opposed to what they originally created?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I mean, they basically step away. I mean, I would say once they introduce in Grant Gustin's Flash, when they do the pilot, they basically set it up within the confines of Arrow. From that point on, once they embrace the fact that no, you're a superhero show, you're not this noirish kind of wannabe Batman show. It gets a little more from that point on, but you still have a lot of the elements that they had to overcome and reset from the beginning of that show.
okay. But to me, going back to what you said earlier, I mean, you mentioned having great writers do other characters on other stories. And I get what you need for that to be so they can blossom to something better. At least those are more obscure characters. But I'm not against having Batman pivot them in that direction. Like, remember, Zach, when we watched Justice League Dark, in which Batman's in it, but he's almost a sideline character in it. Like, he has almost nothing to do with the main course of the plot. He's just watching and maintaining like vigil.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the story reason that he's there, it makes sense. I can eat it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But from a production sense, it's like Batman got that movie made.
Yes.
Right. They put him on the DVD box to sell copies.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's okay. Going back to Brave and the Bold, that's what Brave and the Bold or DC Comics Presents is for. Like, that's your idea.
You're talking the comic at this point, or you're talking the show? Sorry.
I'm talking a little bit of both because,
okay.
Again, it's one of those things of, if you don't know, who Jonah Hex is or Blue Beetle or, whoever, whoever's that's who you team up with, Batman or Superman, and then you send them out, and then you can basically be like, oh, I'm kind of interested. That's how it was for me as a kid, for sure. Was I don't know too much about this character. They're in DC Comics Presents this month with Superman, or in Brave and the Bold with Batman. You get a little sample of what they can do and what their power set is, and their life and all that, and then the next issue of their book comes out, and you're like, maybe I'll check that out.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I took Justice League Dark, was that kind of thing. Was like, oh, it's Brave and the Bold with Batman and Justice League Dark.
Right,
teaming up together to do this episode, or this episode.
And since he's a character that is so easy to define, right? He's a character that's very tough to get wrong. Also, right? So
yeah,
because he's so flexible, right? That's taking a tangent. Like I like to bring it up all the time. Batman and Robin is a valid interpretation. It is. I mean, I could absolutely pull the references that movie is adapting itself from, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of people don't like it. I understand that. But I'm just saying. But you can't tell me it's not Batman. It is Batman. The character was like that for a very long time, right? And so even so, that's this super unpopular thing. It's valid. They got it right in some way, right? From a certain lens. And so I think having Batman, essentially that being the power of the property, right? That so many people can get it and it's hard to break it.
Yeah, it's arguably a perfect character.
If everybody understands who he is, if everybody knows what he's supposed to be and what he's supposed to be in a situation, it then informs to me like what Constantine is supposed to be and what Deadman is supposed to be, using Justice League Dark as an example, right? Because I know his personality, and now I get to see these people's personalities that play off of him.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Basically, I'm saying I like the Batman team up stuff. I think it's good for that reason. I just think that sadly there's not many stars that get made out of teaming up with Batman, because he can overshadow them.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is it's perfectly fine if you want to like say, hey, we're going to roll this out with Batman for a movie, and the next movie is going to be them by themselves. That's perfectly okay. It's just having it just be, just Batman every time we need to roll something out.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you said, it's probably going to overshadow whatever, I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I like Batman and I like these other characters. Now I can go back to reading Batman and I can go start reading these other characters too. And I just don't think there's enough of a push with that.
I agree. Going off of what you're saying, can we talk about the Flash movie that's being made for a minute?
Sure.
Does anybody know anything about the Flash actually getting incorporated into this movie yet? Because everything I read about it, it's a former person playing Batman that's going to show up playing Batman. And I would never have imagined that when we finally got a Flash movie being made, that it would be this.
No.
Right? That there would be two Batman actors playing Batman in the movie. Talk of a third if you're going to get Christian Bale for it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Which he said now, like, he'll do it if Nolan gives his blessing.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, this is a Flash movie still, right?
Sort of.
Well, I mean, is it though? I mean, but
I'm sure these are going to be cameos, is my still theory on it.
I agree.
For most of them, not the Ben Affleck one might have a bigger part.
No, but if Batman is arguably the biggest superhero to date, what would it hurt to have him in another movie, even if it's for a cameo? I mean, I get why he's in there. For some reason, they have doubt on the Flash character. Even though he's currently in a TV show, people are aware of him. He's like the most prominent speedster ever created. But the little bit of doubt that they carries, they're throwing in Batman.
I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they've mined a lot of stories for the TV show and a lot of characters. And it's kind of like, well, if I can sit at home and watch The Flash for free or stream it online for free, why am I going to plunk down $20 or whatever to go see this in the theater?
Sure. Okay.
But I also think it's, I also think the other thing about it is they're following the Marvel model of, it works for Marvel having a character team up with another character in a movie, because we really don't have, other than origin movies after that point, it's kind of like, Marvel's leaned much more into the idea of teaming them up with another Avenger or another character we haven't seen before. It's one of the things where like in Winter Soldier, when you have Falcon, suddenly in the mix, and then, in Ragnarok when you have Thor and the Hulk together, and then but I think the other thing about that is ever since, and this is looking at Marvel stuff, is ever since Into the Spider-Verse, it seems like it's been going to be a race to who's going to get their first multiverse onto the big screen between the two companies. And it's one of those things where, there's news all the time on both sides of, well, they name this actor that's going to be in it playing a version of this character or whatever. But I agree with Tommy, the idea that you shouldn't have trepidation about the Flash at this point. The Flash consistently does well for the CW. It consistently wins its time slot. It's of all the shows, like they just canceled Supergirl, but there's no talk of canceling the Flash. The Flash is still going to go on, even with everything going on, they're going back into production to make that show. So there shouldn't, other than the fact that they've already done it on TV, I don't see the reason why they couldn't make up a straight up Flash movie and have that be, their thing. And then in the next one, have as many guest stars as you want.
Right. Yeah. I think they want that Batman money. And they don't think they can achieve it without putting the cape and cowl in there some way, shape, or form. Okay,
but let me ask you this. But here's my question to that. I understand they want that Batman money, but why isn't that the converse true of that? Why are we getting the Batman with Pattinson and when it comes out, and there's no talk of other superheroes in that?
Right.
Yeah, there's no Wonder Woman's not guest starring in that. Superman's not guest starring in that. He's not having Cyborg show up. Right. It's Batman. So we totally bank. We put all our Warner Brothers and DC puts all their chips on the table with that one character, and that's it.
What do you mean with Batman?
Yeah, it's true. Like he does. It's like the list of the greatest stories, like we told. Like Batman doesn't get any guest stars in his movies.
Right. Doesn't need it. Yes.
Which that to me would be the easiest way to get somebody familiar with, I don't know, Vixen or whoever, right?
I mean, my thing is, are you telling me you wouldn't want to see Etrigan in a Batman movie?
Sure, of course.
No, I agree with you totally. But history shows when '89 Batman dropped, no one expected that kind of money that raked in with merchandising as well as the movie. And then again, you had it with The Dark Knight. Again, no guest stars, but just him. Box office records, right?
Oh yeah.
It's already tried and proven that he can be alone in the movie, redo his origin, what everybody knows, and still make bank. No one else has tried that, with the exception
aside from
of Superman.
Dawn of Justice, right? Dawn of Justice is the weird quasi, right? Like asterisk in this because it's a Batman movie, but it's a Superman movie also, right? That
it's a sequel. It's a sequel to Man of Steel. That's what that is.
Well, that's true.
But the crazy thing to me with that is even a bad Batman movie makes its money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is obscene to me. I would have hoped it took a dive based upon what they tried to accomplish, but it didn't. Even a bad Batman movie makes money. So
But
go ahead.
It's not. I agree with you. A bad Batman movie makes money, but it's hard to argue that when you stack. I mean, again, that's the first Trinity we've seen on the big screen, right?
Yes.
That's a tough. I mean, I think I've told this story before. I don't know if I've told on the podcast, but my wife and I were traveling through California during the week that Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice League time fun happy show, whatever it was, came out. And I remember driving in the car, and my wife was on with my mother-in-law, and they were talking. And my wife laughs, and I said, "What are you laughing at?" She said, "My mom wants to know that if you know that there's a Batman and Superman movie out, and why aren't you seeing it?" And I was, and I had to explain to through my wife to the phone, basically like why I wasn't, breaking all land speed records to get to a theater to see this movie. So
why weren't you? I mean,
why wasn't I?
No,
because even today I had to argue with someone about the fact that Superman's not a murderer, and I didn't care for Man of Steel.
Yeah.
I don't care for the version that they were doing. And I remember, Frank, I remember you and I were like at Red Robin or something, talking about Dawn of Justice, and we were like, we should be the guys.
Oh my God.
Camping on the sidewalk for this movie.
Yeah.
And we're not. Like,
no, but I mean, if Man of Steel had given us, and this is, it's as a fan, it's frustrating. And I'm sure if you're a fan of Superman and you're Henry Cavill, it's frustrating because I still think Henry Cavill was fine as what he got to play. I just don't think he got to play Superman yet. So
I agree. I think he would be fantastic with better material.
Of course. But it's one of those things where I think we joked about the fact, Zach, that if we were there, we would be those idiots being interviewed on the news because we camped out for 2 weeks to see the first showing, hadn't showered in 12 days or whatever, and we just were like, no, I don't have any interest in seeing this movie because I thought Man of Steel was just a terrible showing for Superman.
Yeah. It wasn't getting the DC universe off to on a right foot. At least what I love about the DC universe.
Sure. Same here.
Which we have an episode on that if you guys want to check it out. Go to letmeknowhowitis.com. You can listen to why we love the DC universe.
Right. Yeah, but it was very polarizing, unfortunately, because as much as I know we in this group have a solid view of what we appreciate Superman to be, like you said earlier, Frank, you still had that conversation. And I'm sure it wasn't with the same person, right?
Which conversation?
With Superman killing.
Oh no, it was another person who was just telling me it was so absurd that the comment they made, which was, it was a nod to the story that came out where he killed Zod, and I said, so basically you're telling me that they had Superman turn into a murderer to nod to a John Byrne story from 1987 or 88? That was the reason?
But what
that makes no sense.
What I don't understand is people know who Batman is, right? Unequivocally, don't challenge it. As soon as they see it, yes or yay or nay, right?
Right.
Like,
sure.
Everybody understands that Batman doesn't kill, but it doesn't extend to anyone.
Keep going with your thought, but I will argue with that. I actually think that a lot of people don't understand that.
Oh no, well no, okay. With the current movie and with the Batmobile being studded with guns, I agree with you. but it's the understanding that he doesn't kill directly, I guess.
Sure, that's the version I like. I subscribe to that version. I believe in that, right? But I think, I think, finish your thought. I think the movies complicate that, and not just Dawn of Justice. I think all of them have had a hand in that.
Yeah. No, but it's like he's so set in stone, but they don't care to characterize or polarize anyone else with that same bedrock. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like we constantly see different versions of Wonder Woman depending on what the crowd leans towards or what the writer does. Superman can kill, fly, weak. He can throw planets or struggle with a rock. Depends on what you want to paint Superman to be. But with Batman,
a good example of that is suddenly Wonder Woman's got to have a sword and shield.
Yes.
In my day, Wonder Woman would pick up a tank and hurl it. She had no problem punching through walls. But yet and however, in the comics, if she doesn't have a sword and shield, she's not Wonder Woman. I see her depicted that way all the time. Not to mention the fact that in the metal stuff, she has some kind of chainsaw gun.
Yeah,
right.
But depending on how you want to depict her, either she's going to be a 4-star general that starts the world, or she's going to be the diplomat that's supposed to end it.
Yes.
It's a ever moving wavelength with her.
It always struck me as because when they were trying to their hat at the DC shared universe thing, right? Like Batman appears in everything. Like he's the through line to it. Like he's for lack of a better term, he's the Nick Fury character that appears in all of them, right? He's in Wonder Woman. He's in Suicide Squad.
Yep.
Right. And it's just odd to me that would not fall on Superman.
Of course.
Right. Because also I think with Superman, what you get also the bigger universe, right? You see, Batman's a normal guy. That's the big selling point, right? He doesn't have any powers or everything. But like if it's Superman as the through line through it, you get a guy with powers, and that we know this is a super powered universe. Right? It's where gods run around. And I think that, I don't know, I'm rambling. Okay. Going in the other direction, though, what I do think against the bat fatigue thing and where I could stand more, the thing that surprises me with the movies is that, like, why aren't they just doing a Batman shared universe? I don't get it. I mean, like, the interesting thing is that, like, his supporting cast, his family is just as popular as he is.
If not more so.
I would think so.
Like, I have to imagine that a Batgirl movie would do really well. I have to imagine that a Nightwing movie would do really well.
Well, I mean, there was the Joss Whedon Batgirl movie that was on the books for a while, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. It was supposed to be done, and then he backed out, and then the next thing I know, it's not been talked about since. So it's one of those. Well, I mean, again, that goes even further to, like, if we talk about the animated series stuff. Remember, there was a push right after the Wonder Woman movie first came out, the first one.
Mhm.
There was talk of a Batgirl adaptation of her year one.
Yeah.
That went nowhere. And again, I still marvel, no pun intended, at the fact that we never got that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah, it's terrific.
It just seems to me something that, like, it's right there. It's right there to pick up, right? And like Sony got it with Spider-Man. We're like, we can do like a giant shared universe thing with just Spider-Man characters.
Right.
And it's just like, it's so easy for Batman to sort of just kind of work up to like an Avengers type Bat team up movie where,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one where, like I say, like, there is no Bat fatigue for me in that situation. I happily go along to all of that.
Right.
But at the same time, who knows how long it would be until we get like another Green Lantern movie for that, if that happened,
or when that happens.
Right.
I think we're all in agreement that they do need to give some life to other characters and showcase other characters that are awesome, and that everybody can see that they're awesome if they just get exposed to it some way.
Well, I mean, again, I think the biggest thing is, when you talk about a universe, the universe is not, universe isn't Gotham City.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
But it's weird how, I mean, I get how you want to enlarge the scope of what we're viewing, but I can't help but think that despite what we want, society still leans towards Batman, because really we're well aware of all the Batman stories that have come out this year, correct?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same token, are we aware of the other stuff that came out this year? Because I did a random, like, little short Google search to see what was good in DC, the top 10 stories. Not one of them was a Batman story.
Oh, interesting. Okay, what's on the list?
Like, what's on the list is Superman smashes the Klan.
And who is the list by?
Better question. Just a random comic book Herald website. I didn't pay attention to making a big name or anything. I just typed in top 10 DC stories, or the best DC comics of 2020 so far. And this was September 5th when they published it. The guy's name is Dave, so I couldn't extend past that.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. Shout out to Dave.
Shout out to Dave. But he put
so Superman versus the Klan. So the Gene Yang book.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next,
I'm interested in it. I very much want to read it. This is my own thing for this. The reason I haven't gotten a lot of this stuff is just the current situation. I haven't been into a comic store in months.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is Far Sector.
Okay.
The new Green Lantern, right?
Yeah, by writer N.K. Jemisin.
Okay.
Next up, Jimmy Olsen by Matt Fraction.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. He put that on.
I'm going to
list.
be very honest with you. I forgot completely that this was happening.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about it. Again, now relearning about it.
Then he put Wonder Woman Dead Earth, which I mentioned earlier from the Black Label.
Okay.
Yeah, which wasn't bad. It's just a little too graphic for my apocalyptic worlds, but I get it. It was a strong story from what I've read from it.
Mm.
The Green Lantern by Grant Morrison.
Okay.
Okay.
Deceased, Dead Planet.
I read some of that.
Okay.
I mean, it's it's Marvel Zombies, but okay.
Yeah, no, it's definitely Marvel Zombies. It's straight up Marvel Zombies. They just waited like 6 or 7 years to rip them.
Yes.
John Constantine, Hellblazer.
Okay.
What else? He put
Heard of him?
You Brought Me the Ocean.
What is that?
It is one of their coming from their YA line from DC graphic novels.
Okay.
Yeah, by Alex Sanchez and Julie Morrow. Excuse my butchering of the name. Which it's a spotlight on it's an origin story for Jackson Hyde, aka Aqualad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
One of DC's openly gay characters, black male teenager. Again.
Okay.
The Dreamin' Waking Hours.
Okay.
Pivots to Sandman universe and Suicide Squad.
Okay.
By Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're out there. It's just that they don't get that shine or that publicity That
Right.
Batman unnervingly gets.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. 100%. 100% true. I mean, I think also, I think comics, I would say, like, what's the big thing holding the comics back from getting like notoriety for some of their other characters? Is it, like, do they need a hotshot writer on like, you know, if Bendis was put on the Atom, does that pull readers over? Like, is that the missing ingredient? Do we just need something big like that? Or
I mean,
Yeah.
I think it doesn't hurt. I mean, if you have a good, you know, if you had a hotshot writer and a hotshot artist, it never hurts a book usually.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But is that enough? I mean, we've gotten hotshot writers and artists on a particular book, but then there's notoriety of the character, the buzz, you know?
Yeah,
Right.
Batman has what, a 40-year buzz.
Long.
yeah. Well, no, and my sense, I don't have these numbers in front of me, but my sense is I think you could put the same hotshot artist on Batman and it does better than it does, right? Like if I had to guess, I would imagine that Batman Hush outsold Superman for Tomorrow, which were both drawn by Jim Lee, right?
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
difference
Yeah.
is so Jeff Loeb wrote Hush and Brian Azzarello wrote For Tomorrow. If I had to
Right.
guess, I would assume that Batman Hush did a lot better.
Probably.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, also, I mean, you know, they're two totally different stories too.
Yeah,
I mean, Hush is you know, it's fat packed with the rogues gallery every other issue. You know, and part of the draw for a lot of people were like, "Ooh, cool, Jim Lee's going to draw this character. Ooh, cool, Jim Lee's going to draw that character."
right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
whereas For Tomorrow didn't really have its. You know, I don't think it has many. I can't remember fully, but I don't think it has that many Superman. Doesn't do the same thing at all.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't
So-
do the same thing at all. I agree with that. Now, I mean, I do think it will be interesting what the movies are going to be like moving forward, because I do think that we have 3 on the slate that, from my feeling, I don't think Batman is any part of it. Right?
Mhm.
If I had to guess, I would assume that Batman will not be a part of Wonder Woman 1984.
Hopefully.
Right?
Because he was in the first one.
Yeah, unless they bookend it again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Very true.
Or
Very,
he's
very
young.
true.
Or he's very young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. But Wonder Woman appeared to be like the standout moment out of there, right? That was the first moment where we had possibly some juice for something that didn't really involve him.
Okay.
Sure.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, Black Adam. I think Black Adam could really be a big deal too, because we're getting JSA members in that movie, right?
Right.
And this one is we assume will be related to the Zachary Levi Shazam movie
Right.
in some capacity, which does have some Batman nods in it here and there.
Yeah.
And then Suicide Squad, which, I mean, we don't know. I mean, there could be some nods to him in that movie. We don't know. But
Right.
Well, there's Batman villains in it.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Very true. Very
And
true.
he was in the first one, so
Yeah, he definitely
Yeah.
was in the first one.
Yeah. So aside from the Flash movie getting made and the fact that Pattinson is doing his own Batman movie, there does seem to be some light at the end of the tunnel, maybe, that we are getting some focus on other characters without having him be a part of it.
Oh,
We'll
at least
see. Hopefully.
at least we forget, it was Aquaman 2 he was not a part of, right? He wasn't in Aquaman, was he?
Oh, yeah. No, outside of like Justice League references and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm looking at the page of bestsellers on Comixology for DC Comics right now. I'm
Mhm.
looking at 24 on page 1. 17 of them are Batman or Batman characters out of 24
Yeah,
current
okay.
bestsellers on
Jeez.
DC Comicsology.
not shocked.
My list was best stories, not sellers.
What are the ones that aren't Batman related?
Far Sector,
Okay.
Woohoo.
Swamp Thing,
Okay.
Oh, nice.
American Vampire,
Yeah.
Legion, and Young Justice.
Okay. So the Bendis books. So it's
Right.
nice to know that Legion is doing well then.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to hear that. I'm very excited to hear that. I'm really surprised that the Adam Strange book is not on there, to be honest.
Right.
Oh,
But,
because Tom King?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what side of the fence I fall on. I'm kind of in the middle a little bit. Like I'll happily take I mean, even though I'm not reading a ton of it now, there's a lot of stuff I'm excited to read, right? The James Tynion stuff that is being done in Batman, the Joker War stuff. I will read that for sure at some point. I'm a trade reader. I just, I'll just wait till it gets traded or it gets put on DC Universe and I'll get it that way.
Right.
But at the same time, like I would desperately like to see, other stuff, especially in other media, right? Like I would like to see Green Lantern get another shot.
Yeah.
Which version?
Like we talked about in some of our other episodes, I really think that they had a real missed opportunity with Jon Stewart.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like it to be possibly a team thing, but he would be my requirement for sure.
Okay.
Like no matter what you do, Jon Stewart has got to be part of it.
Okay.
Right.
But I think Green Lantern is your possible window to also a bigger DC universe as well. And
sure.
Tommy, you and I were talking about how a Lobo movie could possibly do that too.
Oh, that'd be great. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Especially after seeing what was the Superman animated movie?
Man of Tomorrow.
Man of Tomorrow. I could definitely see Lobo live action or animated take the spotlight.
That's what did it for me too. I'm surprised how much Lobo's coming up in this episode, but like his characterization in that movie is treated in a way where like he is in at times kind of the smartest guy in the room as far as like knowing the universe around him. And when he meets Clark, he's like, "What's a Kryptonian doing out here?"
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
right.
And
What's a Kryptonian doing out here in Sector 2814? So that's a Green Lantern nod too.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, so it's neat that he has sort of this knowledge just from like traveling the universe and collecting bounties and stuff like that. And so I thought that would be a fun way to do that in a live action as well. So yeah. So is there any Batman property or any aspect of the Batman property left to mine, or is everything been done? Like what's left?
I had an idea.
Okay.
For me, I was really disappointed when, again, getting back to Hush, when it's kind of revealed that Eddie knows who he is, when the Riddler knows who he is. And we have that sort of like that moment of where it's kind of like Riddler's sort of being a PI. And we don't really, he's sort of he's not quite being a good guy, but at least he's sort of, not being so much of a villain at that point. I really wish we had gotten a Riddler mini or at least a Ridley series to explore that whole thing of, what's that like when you're, when you're used to basically posing questions and having the answers. And now that you're a PI, you don't have all the answers and you're trying to figure out, solving crime.
Interesting. Yeah.
I wish we had gotten that book.
I thought the Riddler Private Eye development was interesting because it was also in a way it had a smell of reform.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
It was also to me a little bit of like another way where I can best Batman, right? Because I can do what he's doing and I can do it better.
Of course.
And I can solve the crimes before him. And I think that there's a ton to explore there.
Yes.
It borders on mine. You mind if I say mine?
Go ahead.
Redemption. We get Batman and what he does, how he does it. He's the best, blah, blah, blah. But we don't get to see the long-term effects of his work. Like it leans into what you're saying with the Riddler. Why does everyone have to be in prison and then commit to another scheme? It's also like with Bane. Bane was the smartest man in the room. We never get to see him evolve past breaking his back. Ever. Like he's what? Savage. To me, he could have eventually been a Doc Savage character.
Oh, okay. I see.
Well, they do a little bit with him in was it
Secret Six?
No, it wasn't Secret Six, definitely, and then also, but they lay the groundwork for it in Batman Gotham Knights.
Okay.
Where and I think I've talked about it before in one of the earlier episodes, but there's a point where with Bane where they start to try and not necessarily rehabilitate him, but when the question comes up of whether or not he may be Bruce's brother or half brother, they bring up the They bring up the
Yeah.
idea that Thomas Wayne was at Santa Prisca around the time that he could have been conceived
Okay.
on a mission, like on a mission to help out people, blah blah blah, as a doctor. And the idea starts to re-rolling that he might be part of the family. That he starts to it's a gradual incremental thing, but they toy with it. And the next thing that he's in basically is he's in. He gets a couple of miniseries with Chuck Dixon, where I think he goes up against Ra's, I think. Like Bane of the Demons, what it's called, and then and I think right after that is when he's in Secret Six with Gail Simone, which is great. Right? If you like Bane at all, if you like Bane being more than just the steroided muscle head, I highly recommend that book to you. And I do Gotham Knights. I don't think is collected, but if they ever collect Gotham Knights with I think it's Devin Grayson was the main writer on that one, or and Scott Beatty. Scott Beatty did a bunch of that stuff too. I would read either one of those. Both of those are great.
Yeah, but no, my lean is towards his retribution. I like to at least his work being helpful for a change instead of him creating new villains every week. I like to see actually Batman's methodology work and have more allies as opposed to a stronger group of enemies.
Right. Okay.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Clifton, what do you got?
I think now I'll have the hot take that breaks Zach's heart.
Okay. Oh no,
we hadn't quite done it yet. Good job.
Yeah.
After thinking about it a lot, I've realized I don't think I actually like Batman much.
Oh,
you should see Zach's face, listeners. I can't see it either because we're only doing audio recordings, but I'm imagining it.
Yes, I am too.
I'm gonna need therapy after this one.
And it's not a dislike. It's not a dislike. It's just more of an apathy or a boredom of the character himself. And what's interesting though is that I like other characters in the Bat world. I like other aspects of Gotham, but given, if I'm ever given the option of reading a Batman comic and a comic by any other character, I will most likely pick a comic by any other character and always have. I barely have many Batman books in my collection when I'm thinking about it. I've got a few of the staples, but not even all of them.
Wow.
But I do like Batgirl, and if you tell me someone's doing a story in the world of Batman that's not that's a completely different flavor from actual Batman books, that will get me. I will pick that up.
Gotham Central.
So Gotham Academy, Gotham Central,
right?
Batgirl Burnside,
right? We Are Robin.
Yeah, those things I go right to, and I'm interested in. But Batman himself, and I think part of it is that because he's everywhere and he's always been everywhere, and these other characters haven't. So I'm well, there's going to be no shortage of Batman. I can flip on a TV and there'll be a Batman movie on if I wanted it. But these other characters, I'm not going to get them other places.
Right.
So as far as untapped stuff in Batman, I just say any of them, any of those other parts of his world, that's what I want to see.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree with that too, especially in other media. I wish that I really hope that some of these the Batgirl talk of those movies that it comes into fruition, because I think Batgirl would be so cool on the big screen.
Yeah, it'd be very cool.
I really do. I'm gonna say utility belts. No, I don't know. I mean, you guys picked so many good ones. Honestly, I think. I mean, it's touched upon in Batman Begins, obviously, but I like the idea of him traveling and training to be Batman. And I remember that one of the ideas before Smallville came to be, before Smallville the show was made,
right.
there was talk of doing a Batman travels the world, like a Bruce Wayne traveling the world show.
Yep.
And I thought that sounded really cool. And at a time, that was the number one book at DC that I wanted that we never got. And because he was a comic guy, I remember Clifton, I would tell you this at New York Comic Con and stuff like that. I was the thing that I always wanted it to be co-written by Anthony Bourdain. Right? Oh. So it'd be Tom King and Anthony Bourdain to get his actual globe-trotting
world traveling
expertise brought into it, so he can talk about actually cultures and other things that he came across while he was traveling. And at the same time, I just thought that it would be cool to get a different perspective from it that way.
Sure.
So I in a weird way I would see that, which is strange, like I said, because we got a movie devoted to it. But even that, it's such a focused version where we don't really see a whole lot other than that one spot that he's at. So
I think the closest thing you get to it is Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Yeah.
Where basically he travels the world and like picks stuff up, and then and then you're supposed to believe that he meets every famous person ever throughout history, and then his lifetime, and then goes on to be Indiana Jones. So, but I think I agree with you. I would love to see that Bruce Wayne series too, but I think that's the closest thing you ever get to it.
Yeah. So really quick then. So before we wrap up though, so what's the verdict? Do we think? What do each of us think? Have we reached bat fatigue, or is there an appetite for still some more stuff?
I say there's an appetite. He has yet to die, so
right.
that's usually my angle.
No, I'm still I still enjoy Batman. I just feel like there are days where I'm like, wow, there's a little too much. I don't need all this on my plate.
Right. Clifton, I'm going to assume that you're like, I'm good. Right.
I mean, I go to the movies when they come out, but I wouldn't miss them if they weren't there.
Right.
But there's certainly still an audience for them.
My thing is I don't necessarily want you to get rid of stuff.
Right.
I just want you to make more stuff about other things.
Right.
Like I don't want it to suddenly go down to 3 Batman titles. Like I like having so much of it out there because I love the character. But yeah, I mean, I would love at the very least miniseries devoted to some of the other characters in DC out there as well, because that stuff is a lot harder to find. And I think it's necessary. I think that DC gets bigger and gets better if people fall in love with other characters other than him. So
yes.
So yeah. So guys, we want to hear from you. What do you think? Is there such thing as too much Batman? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to suggest the topic while you're at it. You can find links and examples to everything we talk about on letmeknowhowitis.com. Also, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It will help us to grow. We would appreciate it. And finally, don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/letmeknowhowitis and follow us on Twitter at our show's initials, LMKHII. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time.